Now, let's talk about the Premier League title race. A massive Christmas period coming up for Manchester City, who are top on 44 points, Liverpool on 41, and Chelsea on 38. Let me tell you who they're going to play. Manchester City taking on Leicester, Brentford, and Arsenal. Liverpool taking on Leeds, Leicester, and Chelsea. And then Chelsea taking on Aston Villa, Brighton, and Liverpool. There are some tough fixtures ahead for all three. Interestingly, no games in hand, no disruption for these teams over the last couple of weeks, James. Do you think that's going to help them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably, well, if you're Chelsea, I think it's not. And I think that's where Thomas Tuchel, in terms of his complaints over it, of course, it's valid, completely understandable, because he feels it is different. And they're crucial players that have been missing for Chelsea, and then so many games as well. And I think the other reason for that is he looks a little further ahead. He looks to January, the likes of Liverpool, as you've just said there, Man City, Spurs in the league, Spurs in the League Cup. It's a huge month, January. So the month before, you need to really be collecting as many points as possible, because if you can draw those games afterwards, you still leave yourself in the hunt. But when we look at the league table at the moment, I mean, it's getting worse and worse for Chelsea. Of course, got that win against Brentford, but in the league, really struggling to score goals. And you can see that as soon as you look at the league table. 39 goals for them. Man City with 44, and they're only getting stronger, of course, with all the goals that they've scored in the last two games. And Liverpool with 50 goals so far this season. So it's a very tough time for Chelsea, who seem to struggle in December and January, season on season. And it's happening again for Tuchel. These pressures that happen over the season, it's fascinating, isn't it? You just kind of realize when you get to the end of it, just how good a team is. And when I look at it now, it really does feel like Man City and Liverpool are a level ahead of Chelsea. Would you agree with that?
I think there's been disruption for Chelsea. And it's not what they would have wanted. Firstly, it started in the central midfield area. They were missing Jorginho, Kovacic, and Kante for a short period of time. And they lost that rhythm in terms of controlling games and having that real effect from the midfield transitioning forward. I've mentioned it before. N'Golo Conte, I think, is the most underrated player probably in world football. They missed him badly. He's now back. In fact, when he came on against Brentford in the EFL Cup, totally changed the direction of Chelsea, who had been almost treading water in that game, really took them forward, a force of a player in central midfield. It started there, and now it has moved to the forward line because, of course, you had Timo Werner out for a period of time. You had Romelu Lukaku through both injury and COVID issues, and they haven't got that rhythm moving forward in the team. And you've seen that disrupt the way that not only they control games, but, of course, the way that they attack. There hasn't been that same element, an injury to Ben Chilwell as well, when you think about the wing backs too.
Yeah.
That same element of patterns of play going forward. It's very much now more about the qualities of the individual players. And yes, they have that and they can produce chances and goals, but their rhythm has been disrupted. They need to have a big Christmas period, I think. And it's almost most important that they win all three games to get themselves back in the title race. Of course, the third of their upcoming three matches is against Liverpool. That will be huge. I think Manchester City, fantastic at the moment. Liverpool, high intensity. The only issue for both of those for me would be whether they can continue to produce if, and it's a big if as we record this, all of these matches are played with just a couple of days space between them.
Yeah, I think the Liverpool thing, I think we're forgetting just how tough it's been for them just because they've been so sensational otherwise. You look at the injuries that they've had, Van Dijk being out, Fabinho being out, Thiago being out, Harvey Elliott, who started the season really well, being out as well. You've had to really rely on Minamino in the League Cup or Oxlade-Chamberlain coming in the main side as well. Tyler Morton, of course, playing minutes as well. And they've still been able to look pretty good at times. So I think I keep looking at Liverpool and I want to dismiss them just because I think Man City are too strong. And I had previously thought, that the Liverpool squad didn't have the depth there, but they will not go away. And I just think I think this is a special club, of course, a special team. And I just wonder about Liverpool. You think of those games. Yes, you've got Chelsea on the horizon. But Leeds and then Leicester, I think maybe the Leeds game with the amount of injuries that they've got, that could be one where you rotate somewhat and then utilize your squad and your best players for the Leicester City and the Chelsea game. For Man City, they've got Leicester City as well. We're talking about banana skins in the previous video when we're talking about the top four and it maybe being Crystal Palace. Leicester City have got a huge part to play in this. Of course, took Liverpool all the way to penalties yesterday. But I think of those three, Liverpool probably got, I mean, it's tough, isn't it? It's really up for grabs in terms of who's got the hardest fixtures going into it. I just think Liverpool got such confidence about them right now. Man City, I think the Leicester, the Brentford games and the Arsenal games, they're all kind of tricky. And then Chelsea,
I think Chelsea
it's tough.
Chelsea has the toughest for me, definitely.
Do you think?
Yeah, because I think Aston Villa under Steven Gerrard have been resurgent. I think 4 of his first 5 matches in charge in the Premier League, he's won. It's a huge turnaround for Villa. Brighton are a good footballing side as well. We almost tend to forget that. We think of them as the relegation side. Yeah, they don't score the goals that maybe we think they should, XG fans out there. But the reality is, they can control matches, great possession side. They can create chances too. And then, of course, you're taking on Liverpool. So I think it's toughest for Chelsea. And that's why it's almost most important. They have to play really well and squeeze everything out of their squad. Liverpool, for me, just to go back to what you were saying about them, they showed us against Tottenham Hotspur that there's really no room for injuries. Okay, it might be COVID related, fair enough this time. But even against Leicester City in the EFL Cup, being, conceding 2 early goals and being 3-1 down, they haven't really got that huge depth in their squad. Yes, they came back and went through. I understand it. And they brought some of their better players off the bench in that game. But I think if there is a period of time that they hit in this title race, a lot of injuries or a huge, COVID outbreak, fingers crossed that doesn't happen. I think their squad is less equipped to cope than Chelsea's, than Manchester City's. I mean, Chelsea are already complaining, but if you look at the players they still had available, it was a very strong squad. It's certainly the starting 11 was very strong. And we know Manchester City don't really have a bad 11. If they've got 13 players out there, it's going to be elite. So
yeah. So Hugh, with these 3 guys, then who's going to get how many points are each of these going to get over the next 3 games? Give me a prediction.
9 points for Manchester City against Leicester, Brentford and Arsenal. For me, that's 3 wins. I think Liverpool thrash Leeds. They will beat Leicester. They will take a point against Chelsea. So it's 7 points for Liverpool. And Chelsea, I actually think they'll get 5 points. A draw against Aston Villa. They will beat Brighton. And of course, as I just mentioned, they will draw against Liverpool. So all in all, it's going to be a period where I think Manchester City stretch away another couple of points in this title race.
It's tough, isn't it? Yeah, I think you're right. I think part of me, I just want a final day title race. That's what I want. Do I think Chelsea can hang in there? I'm starting to change my mind on that. Man City will certainly be there. This is the scary thing. You do just feel that with such a difficult period of the season, those fixtures maybe for Man City does allow them to pull away somewhat.
Hi, I'm Hugh Woozencroft from ESPN's Football Forecast. Make sure you're subscribed. You can follow all of our predictions throughout the season and get some other great analysis from our big names as well.